Thank you. So I'm going to move on to Jim Rogers. Jim is the chairman and CEO of Duke Power, an amazing power company. I first met Jim at a Yale School of Forestry and Environment event, and one wonders why a company that produces coal power is there, and it's because he's really the leader of the whole electric power industry in thinking about climate change and these issues, taking them very, very seriously. So I want to begin by asking, can an energy company actually make money by selling less power in a different way?
Absolutely. Let me put that question in a historical context. In the 20th century, our mission was to provide universal access in America. And we did. And in fact, the real price of electricity has been flat for the last 50 years. But in the 21st century, our mission is going to change. First, our mission is going to be to help our communities become the most energy efficient in the world. We believe that because we believe there'll be a battle over scarce resources. And if we're going to improve the standard of living of future generations, we need to create communities that are energy efficient. Secondly, our mission is to decarbonize and basically retire and replace every power plant by 2050. We have to do that anyway because of the age of the plant, so we need to build the right type of generation. But let me give you two quick examples, Jonathan, that I think puts this new mission in context. In Charlotte, which is where we're headquartered, we basically made a commitment here in New York at the Clinton Global Initiative last September, working with Cisco and Verizon to take our city and reduce this usage 20% in 5 years. And that's with existing buildings. So the ability to do that is both, as you would say, behavioral changes, but also using technology, which is evolving now to really allow us to do that. And that's one example. The second one that kind of goes in that direction is that we also have a program in North Carolina where we build and we invest to put solar on the rooftop. And we make it a resource for us in the future as a nuclear plant would be, or gas, or wind, or solar, or any other form of generation. So we're investing in it. And I would look at your rooftop, and you know, we're a little different density in the Carolinas than in New York, I might add. But in most of America, it's much different. And so what we did is we looked at your rooftop as a power plant site, and I would pay you. I would put solar panels there. I would operate them. And at the end of the day, I would roll that cost in with the other cost of generating electricity for you. So I wouldn't charge you an incremental amount for being able to use that renewable source of energy. So those are two examples. And I believe it's our responsibility to make these investments in the communities. We have close relationships with our customers. I believe we need to invest in our homes and businesses to get productivity gains in the use of electricity. We can make money doing that, and we will. We need to get the regulatory regimes right in the states so we make as much money investing in your home or your business as we do in investing in a nuclear plant or a coal plant. If we get those economics right, we have the capability to raise more capital, and even in this tough time, our one company, which is one of the largest in the U.S., we've raised in a 2-year period or 3-year period well over $10 billion at a lower cost of capital than virtually all our customers. So we have the ability to make solar, because 50% of the cost of solar on the rooftop is installation, to reduce that cost. We have the ability to reduce the cost of investing because we have a lower cost of capital. So again, our role is changing, and that is really going to be a key to making this a reality in the United States, not just in cities like New York, but cities across this country.
So you talked about some of the regulatory changes you'd like. What are some of those?
Well, I think the simple one is just compensate me for every dollar I invest in your home or in your business the same way I'm compensated for investing in a plant. Because I know the most environmentally benign power plant I can build is the one that I don't build. So if I can invest and reduce your usage and make as much money, Personally, I would, if I had, cost me $14 billion to build a nuclear plant, I'd rather spend $14 billion in the homes and businesses of our customers, because on a risk-adjusted basis, that's a better investment.
So you've been deeply committed to your service area in the Southeast, but you've also formed a partnership with China, with some Chinese companies. So tell us about those.
Well, I really believe that there is a link between prosperity and access to electricity. And what China is attempting to do today, they have an economic imperative to provide electricity to every person in the country. The only way you can move into the 21st century is to have access to electricity. And they're on that mission. And what they are developing is what I call the intellectual property of scaling. And we always talk about intellectual property of technology, and that's real, but there's also evolving an intellectual property of scaling technologies. So our partnerships are with more than a handful of different power suppliers and developers of technology, because remember, Jonathan, my mandate is to retire and replace every plant by 2050. That's almost the same challenge that the power suppliers in China have in terms of providing universal access to electricity. So in a real sense, we have the same challenge, and I think that working together, the mutual benefit to our people will be, and this is the one area where our two countries can work together to the mutual benefit of our people, because it's infrastructure business, and at the end of the day, they can scale it faster and cheaper, and then we do the same thing here. That's to our advantage. So I'm one that believes that in our sector, there is significantly greater benefits of working together than competing, and that's for other industries to do, because what's unique is its infrastructure, and that's fundamentally different than other industries.
So on the intellectual property of scaling, it sounds like you're saying that volume and speed help. But what are some of the other characteristics that take great ideas and allow them to scale up more rapidly for the benefit of the world?
You know, it was once said that quantity is a quality in itself. But what I would say is that the unique situation in China gives them actually a great advantage, because they're building cities from scratch. And what that really means is they will deploy technologies at scale faster than we can do it. And building a new city versus retrofitting an old city are two very difficult assignments. Right. But we can learn from building new cities as we retrofit old cities in the U.S. and other Western countries. So I believe there's a great benefit from sharing. We have an eco-partnership with Longfang in Charlotte, where we're trying to work together in terms of developing cities for the future and a sharing of ideas. So there's an interesting set of opportunities, I believe, that will come with our partnerships. And it ranges from state-owned enterprises like State Grid all the way to private companies like ENN and BYD. So we think that working together will create more benefit for our people than working on separate tracks.
So speaking of BYD, we spoke earlier about density, mass transit, and walkability, but America still is a substantially suburban nation, and we still do drive hundreds of millions of cars, and BYD is a leader in electric cars and battery technology. And there's a great enthusiasm in America right now for the electrification of our transportation system. Is our grid resilient enough, or is it too brittle to actually accomplish a high-speed transition from oil-based fuel to electric?
We have a number of projects that we're doing at various locations, because we serve not only the South but the industrial Midwest, where we're really putting charging stations in place, seeing what impact it has on the grid, and the same thing is going on in China. Working with BYD, because they're trying to develop the e-bus and e-cars, and really to build the infrastructure to make that happen. We think it's going to be very easy to do in terms of redesigning our systems to be able to do this, because we're also investing in what is people calls the smart grid.